Hey, what's up, Aquarius? Welcome back to another timeless general tarot reading. I did the blitzing segment last week, and Aquarius did not seem to appreciate not having a title for the video, so on this particular cycle, I'm definitely going to leave you a title. The other thing I've noticed from analytics is that a lot of the viewers drop off pretty quickly. There's a solid core of individuals that stick around for the whole video, but a lot of people drop off really fast. And I'm not sure exactly why that is. If you have some ideas, make sure you leave a comment below. The only thing I can imagine is I just must not be very entertaining. What can I tell you? What can I tell you? The more realistic idea is the fact that it's just not resonating with you right off the bat, which happens. I can sympathize. But usually I watch videos all the way through when I watch tarot. I very rarely don't. So it's definitely something that I don't understand in my own personal capacity. The other thing is I sit here and shuffle out the cards until clear messages emerge. I don't just draw cards off the top in haste, because I'm not here to pander to the short attention spans of viewers. But if that's you, then that's you. What can I tell you? Alright, so off the top here, Four of Pentacles reversed. That's definitely an ungrounded energy. To a certain extent, it can be a sign of an individual that is not embracing the truth properly. The energy can be miserly in this position. The connotation would be that there's some kind of lacking stability, for sure. Lacking in groundedness, which is part of what contributes to the unstable nature of this card. Wow, we even have the Three of Swords in reverse, so you're definitely having trouble grounding yourself internally. You're having trouble stabilizing your heart. Your heart is overriding your emotions to a certain extent. Your heart, your spiritual heart, is overriding your well-being to a certain extent. You're not able to ground your conscience properly here. So it's definitely a sign of over-emotionality. And emotionality ruling you, as opposed to assisting your experience. So that's disappointing to see. I've seen that a few times recently. So definitely something going on here where your heart isn't serving you properly. Usually that's just a sign of over-emotionality, is the bottom line. And that emotionality is important to ground yourself in this Four of Pentacles reverse energy, so that's disappointing. I'm curious to see what else we can get here, but it is... a lot of the energy is stuck. Whoa. The cards are stuck here. They are not expanding any further for you. Let me try another shuffle here. We do see Aquarius energy with the Three of Swords, but not very much clear besides for that. Alright, so now we also have the Empress on the other side. That's kind of an interesting clarifier. How does that interval go forth? So, usually the Empress has their heart space together. Interesting energy that you are having trouble facilitating your heart space, but then there's this Emperor card in the upright because the Emperor card, or excuse me, the Empress card. The Empress does have her heart space in the right place, and she is somebody who's grounded in this material fashion, and even though she is full of heart, she has control of her emotions. She can guide her emotions for her well-being. That is part of why she's able to become the Emperor. Did I say the Emperor again? I said the Emperor like 5 times out of the Empress. So the Empress, that is what you need to embody to ground this. So to a certain extent, that's, you know, very maternal instinct, cherishing, loving. But the thing is it's loving yourself as well. Wow, we even have the Strength in reverse. So more to what I was suggesting here, your heart, your spiritual heart, your internal strength is unstable. You are allowing your internal energy to rule your experience, and that is going to be unpleasant. It's not going to allow you to reach this Empress quality. So very, very disappointing just to hear for you. I'm not sure what this is all about. Nothing here specifying circumstance necessarily. The idea, though, would be that you are... Oops, there's 2 cards there. The idea would be that you are perhaps, like I said, you've got to kind of embrace you've got to stabilize your emotions. You can't just let your emotions, you can't identify with your emotions if they aren't serving you. That's going to lead to some toxicity in your experience. You aren't going to be very pleasant for other people. So that's the bottom line here, is it's talking about grounding your own internal fortitude and your strength, which to a certain extent is using your mentalism, but as an Aquarius wind sign, you have the sword wind energy to actually do that. Page of Swords. So that is, once again, somebody who is capable of stabilizing their internal world, because they can have that internal dialogue with themselves. This person, they actually have the sword energy to apply it to their emotions and to get over this heart issue, this spiritual heart issue. So there's signs here that you can make the difference. Whoa. And then I just missed my split though. Whoops. Holy cow. Holy cow. Excuse me on that one. So there's a sign here that you can make the difference for sure. But it might not be natural to you, or you might not think you need to. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but something's a little tricky. Now we have the Queen of Pentacles coming up. So the Queen of Pentacles, that person is stable within their world when they have material abundance. They actually can sort of contain themselves for the most part. They can stabilize their internal world. The one thing they really desire though is oftentimes they really do like to be glamorous. And nothing severe, but they relish in being able to sort of show themselves off in that sense. So as a signifier to this energy, that potential may exist, but you're definitely missing the internal quality to reach that state. But it's a good thing that she's not in the reverse here. Whoa. So the moon in reverse. It's a very intuitive sign. That does have to do with the fact that you are being called to embrace your internal world differently, and you're being called to deal with certain illusions and shed and cast off certain illusions in your internal world, which comes back to some intuitive capacity, which is what the Empress is capable of. But once again, she's capable of that because she can love properly in that maternal sense. She can give of her emotions in her heart, but to do that, they have to be grounded, and she can't just feel however she wants to. She didn't get here by feeling however she wants to and thinking that's her sacred right to do so. It's not how this works. There is some internal control over herself. She has the ability to guide her own energy, and that comes down to the intuitive capacity. And when she embraces that energy, what happens is she can achieve her desires. She doesn't... Sorry, there's some wind blowing outside. She doesn't like... This particular... The Empress is not used to their desires going into disappointment. They're used to getting what they want. And part of why they can get what they want is because they've got their internal world stabilized properly. So that's definitely what's being called here for you to do. Over and over again in this reading is stabilizing your internal world. And I can tell you from a personal perspective, it's never always that simple. Sometimes it's very tricky to understand that you have more control over your heart than it might feel like. So, not something I can't exactly deny that it's not the easiest thing in the world always, but so it is. So this is very strange here. Very strange. Knight of Pentacles, like, in the reverse, that is definitely somebody who can be very stalled in their process. It can also be somebody who is a little shoddy in terms of their quality of effort. So, very strange here that you're getting that as a clarifier. Wow, we have the Three of Pentacles showing up in the reverse here. For some reason, these energies aren't getting along very well. The emotional glamour element of this Queen of Pentacles is not meshing well with this Page of Swords energy of internal quality. It really strikes me as somebody who is, once again, they're of good quality one way or the other, but they're having trouble putting them together. They're having trouble, like, pulling together their heart and their head. and that is something that can fail them in the long run because they can't reach this Empress status. And if that gets old, they could become a Knight of Pentacles who's very stalled in their process, and they could become very incapable of the success they truly desire. Wow, the Death card. So once again, just a sign to move on from this blocked intuitive capacity. Another sign to make sure that you can move beyond the inability to stabilize your internal world. And as an Aquarius air sign, I think I've already said this a few times, but you are an air sign, and that is about stabilization of form. So you should have a more natural capacity to stabilize this internal world. So it's kind of bleeding over here that you perhaps are resonating in a slightly different energy than would be more natural to you. And that can be tricky to figure out if you're very habitated in certain behavior. So, wow, look at that. Ace of Wands followed up by the Ace of Swords. So it's just another sign that this illusion has to do with your mentalness, your mentalism. It is about stabilizing your emotions, but the key to stabilizing your emotions is taking a new mental initiative. It is about stabilizing your heart with your mind, and that is what is going to be key to synergizing your emotional capacity and your mental capacity. So that's pretty strong there. And it's also very masculine energy. Ace, Wands, and Swords, both of the masculine energies. Maybe you're a masculine a masculine Aquarius, but the connotation there is pretty clear. You are lacking in. You've got to take up that initiative differently to stabilize your mental state for the sake of your intuition. So maybe you think that maybe you're riding on your emotions and you're thinking that's your intuition, but the true intuition is a blend of healthy feeling and constructive mentalism. It's not just doing whatever you feel like. That's a misconception. And this is what this is suggesting, that you're lacking the mental element of the stabilization of your intuition. So Knight of Pentacles, Hangman reverse. Yeah, so very, very strange. The Knight of Pentacles is stuck in that energy because they are not looking forward properly. In the upright, the Knight of Pentacles is very endearing because they do look forward properly, and that's part of why where their slow and steady energy comes from. But when they aren't looking forward properly, they get stuck in this energy. And sometimes that's because they're a procrastinator. Sometimes that's because they're kind of seedy in terms of what they're trying to accomplish. So, like, that's a very disappointing sign here that this Knight of Pentacles energy is not getting adhered to. Wow, look at that. Nine of Pentacles. So, through approaching this differently, you're going to find extreme material grounding. That's the purpose here. Also, this is a good sign that you might be very unstable in terms of your ability to have self-confidence. But if you can take this initiative to rectify your intuitive capacity, if you can get over this intuitive blockage and reground your heart properly, which is what I'm seeing here, you have the ability to definitely stabilize yourself big time. Materially speaking is one thing, but more specifically even mentally, because you will be able to get to a point where you're so stable that the haters and the toxicity and the negativity, it can't affect you because you have evidence to the contrary, which is exactly where you want to be. You don't want to be in this position where the anxiety can strike so easily and your internal world can get disrupted so easily because you aren't in a grounded state of being. So a very good sign here. It definitely bleeds over this way. The energy on this side of the reading is much tougher. It has a lot more to do with your internal world being unstable. And however, as we come across the reading here, it definitely gets better. It gets a lot better. And it's giving you the signs here what you need to do. Excuse me. I just woke up and I'm freaking yawning here. What the heck? Very strange. So we're looking at 14 minutes, 15 minutes. So I'll say a final word here, but this is actually pretty straightforward. It's, as I've been saying, it's about grounding your internal world. It's about grasping your intuitive capacity differently. You can't just let your heart feel however it wants without any mental pushback. It's got to be balanced. And what I'm seeing here is a lack of that balance. But to achieve that balance, it comes down to embracing your heart a little differently. It comes down to stabilizing how you feel with your mind. You got to kind of, I hate to use the cliche term control your emotions because that's really cliche, because your heart kind of generates naturally, and if you're very emotionally led, then you can identify with your emotions, but the problem here is you're over identifying with your emotions. And if you do that and you don't have the mental, you're not filtering how you feel with your mentalism. Like, if you're not paying attention to the quality of mentalism that is being bred by your emotionality, then your intuition is going to be faulty and your judgment is going to be off because they aren't synergizing. So a lot of energy here that the key to getting to the stability that you're looking for is you've got to stabilize that balance between your heart and your mind. And if you can get over that blocked intuition, so to speak, and if you can kind of embrace a more maternal capacity, that's all going to be very good for achieving your desires differently and not being disappointed about things. And it definitely looks like the energy is, it definitely looks like you're having trouble blending those energies, and it definitely looks like part of the trouble is that there is a little bit of an inability to constructively see the future, and not look into the future, but like there's a lack of ability to be diligent about the utter reality of the actions you take. So like a sort of reckless behavior. So definitely another call to your mind, another call to, it's another call to really consider your path forward and consider the choices you make moving forward and not be so reckless about them. It's a sign to really sift through your choices that you take for yourself, because in this energy over here, it is signifying that they aren't of the greatest quality. And if your heart is overruling your mentalism, you're not considering that path forward properly. So another sign here that it's very mentally focused here. Taking a good pause when you make decisions and really let your mind and your heart kind of balance each other out a little better, as opposed to being extremely emotionally directed. That's essentially what I've got here for you. So thank you very much for being here, Aquarius. Take care with this, and good luck.